I thought iconic and I imagined an emblem, an idol having heroic capabilities worthy of veneration. A person having a virtue as attitude, courage, perseverance, spirituality. I thought iconic and I imagined remarkability and extraordinariness. The Webster Dictionary agrees with me in defining iconic as that which is well established, widely acknowledged, and known for its distinctive excellence. Therefore, the notion of iconic design is somehow nestled in its being different from just design. But what if its value lies in not being different? Iconic design is believed to have the aura of standing out in a crowd. Rather than that which stands out in the crowd, what if it is the crowd that stands out? In his book, Not Interesting, on the limits of criticism in architecture, Berkeley professor Andrew Atwood positioned architecture through an alternative terms to interesting. Today, I also choose not to focus on the interesting and the attention seeking, but on the not so interesting, the ordinary and the ubiquitous. Because in doing so, I firmly believe that we might become more open to novel but pertinent ways of reading built environments and also critically examining the conventional ways of doing so. I say it's time to add to the predominantly Western nomenclatural lens of defining iconicity, because typically this adjective gets attached to museal objects. And these museal objects are typically exclusive, inaccessible, to be viewed in awe, consecrated, and therefore dehumanized. What if the alternative iconicity prefers to sit in its original ethnographic field, replete with people and narratives, contexts, and lived experiences? What if we draw knowledge from subaltern perspectives? After all, pluriverse is all about multiple interconnected worlds coexisting. In this anthropocentric age, we are becoming more and more conscious of incorporating indigenous wisdom in a last bid effort to resuscitate the earth through regenerative systems. Iconicity is inspiring. So I argue for incorporating this alternative iconicity along with Eurocentric modernist ideals for design thinking in praxis and education. I place before you the case of the charpai, an ubiquitous, traditional, handcrafted daybed commonly found in many parts of the Indian subcontinent, particularly in the alluvial plains and the arid parts of North India. Simply made from four posts, a rectangular frame, and sporting a mat-like woven surface, it is a classic example of non-pedigreed design. Prima facie, it is just a piece of furniture to sleep on, and it is DIY. But it is also CIY, carry it yourself and repair it yourself, RIY. Versatility, it supports a multitude of functions that are derived from common sense and the utterly bizarre. Using it to dry clothes and condiments, understandable. But using it to rescue children and leopards that fall accidentally into wells? The charpai continues its narrative from that very courtyard and that very house where generations come and generations pass on. An individual takes life on it in villages, and an individual leaves life on it is actually carried on it for the last rites. And somewhere in between, it nurtures childhood and marks the institution of marriage. For it quite literally and allegorically facilitates the paradigm shift for many brides in North Indian villages, because it is on the charpai that her belongings, artifacts, and memories are carried along with her to her new household. Breaking social barriers, the charpai has found its way to places where its makers have not yet and might never. In the pastoral commons, we see elders, we call them the panchayat, commonly seated on the charpai and dispensing justice, their version of justice. That apart, both are signifiers of their position in the village. And you know what? The charpai can magically hold the great Indian extended family, and you can imagine it. However, it is also a safe space for women in remote villages to unburden themselves. The charpai spells abundance, accessibility. It is of the people, by the people, for the people. It's democratic and it's inclusive. Soon after independence, sometime in the 1950s, the government of India invited the Eames couple, Charles and Ray, to visit India and carry out an investigation into those qualities and values that Indians held important in their lives. And they discovered the ubiquitous lota, a clay pot, and they called it the greatest, most beautiful object that they had seen and admired during their visit. And thereafter, in the India Design Report of 1958, it was the reinvention of the lota that established new paradigms for design in the new country. But for generations of Indians, the disruption from ancient ways of life during foreign invasions had already created a tabula rasa. And many more generations were schooled in modern consciousness during colonization and thereafter because of its vestiges. So, for many, many people, these ancient ways of life were mere stories of the past with little relevance to present times. And yet, at some level, these ways of life are not obsolete. They are very much in vogue, so why not bring them to the level of Indian consciousness? Could they not, should they not inform the modern Indian designer? 75 years of our nation state have been built on a layered history of thousands of years of a civilization. And ubiquity over millennia has been recognized eminently by the people of the subcontinent, and they continue to do so. In design language, we call it timelessness. So, while the contemporary Indian designer is still trying the tightrope walking between addressing needs of affluence and development, still searching for an identity in the new millennium, the Charpai has done the balancing act, found its identity, and continues to be as resilient as the civilization it exemplifies. So, now I think iconic, I think ubiquity, and I imagine the Charpai. Thank you.